Hello, everybody. Welcome into this bonus members Q&A for this week. Going back to last weekend, if you guys were not there, we did our pre and post game show on Sunday, and we had like 100 and some memberships gifted out or signed up for on Saturday and Sunday. So I said, you know what? We're going to do as a huge thank you to you guys. We're going to do an extra members only Q&A this week. And we'll try to do some other stuff as well over the course of time, just because your generosity and your ability just to make this entire journey and channel and everything so incredibly special has been really, really cool. So wanted to try to do something for you guys as well. So we're here. We're doing our extra members Q&A. I'm not going to lie to you. I got done. So I did the Carmen Vitale episode. We started at like 2:30. And then I got done with that. And then I had John Papadopoulos on the radio, and I just had gotten a bunch of stuff done before that. I got my stuff done. I talked to Carmen. I talked to John. I'm like, all right, just maybe we'll take a breather or go on a little walk or do something. And I'm like, oh my God, we have the bonus members Q&A this week. So I was like 2 minutes away from like completely forgetting it whatsoever. But that's why I set things on my calendar to remind me just in case those things happen. And it would have happened today had I not done that. So thankfully I did, but very, very excited to be here chatting with you guys. And we should be able to go for about 45 minutes-ish, right around there. And we have a few more questions after that. We'll try to stick around a little bit longer, but I will get to as many questions as I possibly can, get those in, and we'll get started right away. Andy from RJ. What's good, Andy? Let's say your name is Shmen Schmanson and you were offered the head coaching position of the Jacksonville, Chicago, and Dallas professional football franchises. What job would you take? That's a really great question. And Ben Johnson will have his opportunity to have a head coaching job when he wants one. Like he probably is going to get an offer pretty much now until he takes one, would be my guess. And I think he basically has the last 2 years as well and has declined them. Those are three destinations I wouldn't really have much interest in. And the reason being is not anything to do with the talent on the field or anything like that, but it's ownership. I think so many times you have franchises that have poor ownership that just leave you in a really poor situation. And I think Dallas is in a poor situation. I think they care more about some of the, things that they're doing for their big donors and things like that than actually what's transpiring on the football field. And we've heard some of those stories as of late. Chicago, I think for the most part, they want to stay out of the way, but it hasn't really been the case. And again, I just don't want to end up in Chicago. And Jacksonville, the Khan family, again, I think they're trying to do the right thing, but sometimes it just feels like they can't get out of their own way. Now, it's not as bad as, obviously some of the stuff like that's going, I think Carolina might be a worse situation. And it's not like there's a ton of, 1A perfect, scenarios in the NFL. There's some really good ones, no question about it. But there's a reason some of these franchises remain bad for year after year after year. I'll probably take Jacksonville in that scenario just because I think, again, I don't want to go to Chicago. Dallas is just going to be too weird and like the things that they emphasize, and Jerry Jones is just always going to have that final say in total control. So I'll take Jacksonville, and I like my chances of maybe convincing the Khan family to give me that autonomy to do my job to the level that I need to be able to do it to win. And I think Jacksonville would be open to that. So I'd probably take the Jaguars position. I would have to learn how to say Jaguar more appropriately as time went on. But outside of that, that's probably the one I would take. Why is it desirable to keep the Lions off the field by using as much time as possible on offense? Limiting their possessions by eating clock also limits our own. So what is the advantage? All right, so think of it this way, Ryan. And I'm not saying this is perfect, by the way. Like I understand your side of the argument and what you're saying here. But imagine, and in this case, like Detroit's the most efficient offense in the league, at least arguably, right? So let's say that they score, touchdowns on 7 out of 10 possessions and they score on 8 out of 10 possessions, right? So they score 80% of the time they have the ball. Let's say Green Bay's got a really good, efficient offense, but they score 70% of the time they get the ball. Okay. In a 10 possession game for both teams, Detroit's going to, on average, get one more scoring chance than you're going to get. And when you have a super efficient offense, that's something that you want to take away. You don't want to give them more bites at the apple. The more offensive possessions they have, the more opportunity they have to raise that efficiency, right? In Green Bay, the more opportunities that they have, the more opportunity that gap in efficiency is probably going to show itself. Now, if you each only get 6 possessions, right? 5 or 6 possessions, now that might be limited. the odds that maybe Green Bay got their scoring ones within those first 5 or 6 possessions by putting together a really strong game plan and maybe taking advantage of some mistakes by Detroit, maybe they score in all 6 of those possessions. Maybe the ones that they weren't going to score on were times 7, 9, and 10, right? And meanwhile, Detroit maybe had 1 or 2 of theirs early in the game that they didn't score on. But again, if you make the game longer, it's going to over time average out towards the Lions are probably going to be more efficient. So if you have a team that's ultra efficient on offense, which Detroit very much has been, you want to shorten the game and say, hey, in a 10 to 12 possession game, we cannot go match them. Like, we can't match them efficiency wise on offense. They're just going to put more points up than us. But if we can limit that to 5 or 6 opportunities each, and maybe we get a ball that bounces our way, now we've got a avenue for success. And I don't think Green Bay is going to look at it quite that way. I don't think they're going to look at it like they are that much outgunned by this Detroit team. I think they'll play it straight up. I don't think they're going to try to limit possessions. But I do think with a little bit of a banged up Aaron Rodgers that they're going to want to have a ball control offense. I think they're going to want to be able to run the ball very, very well, keep Detroit's offense off the field while also very much expecting to put up points on their own. So I'm not saying that that's the point of emphasis for Green Bay in this game or that it should be. I'm just saying if you're looking for teams that are looking to maybe shorten the game, it's just because on a longer game with more possessions, the team that's ultra efficient is just going to beat you eventually. It's like playing the casino, right? You might win the first 3 hands of blackjack, but if you play 100 hands of blackjack, they're going to win eventually. So you're hoping that those first 5 or 6 games that you played, you hit blackjack a couple times and they, hit a couple of 16s that they had to hit on and they had to get, 10s or whatever it might be, whatever lame analogy that you want to use. You're hoping that the less opportunity there is, the more opportunity that you might have to actually win that game. Whereas again, if they have the, analytical advantages in their favor with how efficient they are, the more you play, the more that's going to show up over time. So that's kind of the thinking there. Richard, do you see the Packers D-line matching or beating the physicality of the Lions offensive line? That and playing with the lead could be major factors in this game. Also, happy Halloween, Andy. Richard, happy Halloween to you as well. I think they can mostly match the physicality. I think overall Detroit wins that battle if you're just basing it on pure physicality, but I think Green Bay can win some of those matchups on the interior. Frank Ragnow's still not 100%, right? Like there's just still a little bit of a difference in his game. Graham Glasgow, you can take advantage of. So I don't necessarily hate some of those battles, and I think Green Bay can win some of them, but they're going to have to bring the intensity, the physicality, the violence in this one. Penei Sewell is a really rough matchup for just about anybody. So there's definitely, I think, advantage Detroit there, but I definitely think Green Bay can come close to matching. I don't think they're like this, they're not a finesse team up front by any means. It's not like they have a bunch of 240-pound defensive ends or a bunch of undersized defensive tackles. Like they got good sized defensive tackles, good sized defensive ends. They can stick with most teams. I don't think they're just going to get completely like blown off the ball or anything like that. And then yes, playing with a lead could be a major factor. Anything you can do to make Detroit a little bit more one-dimensional and predictable, I think is going to go a very long way. The more that they have everything at their disposal where they can go run, pass, play action, trick play at any moment, at any time, that's going to make it really tough because your head just starts to spin with all the different things that they can throw at you. So I think playing from ahead, making them more one-dimensional and predictable could go a very long way in helping Green Bay in this one. You think sooner or later Jordan Morgan will be a starter on the O-line and either Ryan or Myers goes to the bench? I don't think so. Not this year. I think he'll continue to rotate in and get snaps, but I think for now, Jordan stays as kind of that number 6 guy and then goes in if there's an injury and then continues to get maybe 15 to 20 snaps per game at that right guard spot. That's my overall. I could also see where like if he's rotating with Sean Ryan and Sean Ryan's having a tough game and Jordan Morgan looks really good in the first half, could they give him the lion's share in the second half? Sure. I could see some scenarios there too. But I think for the most part, your starters at offensive line for the rest of the year are Walker, Jenkins, Myers, Ryan, and Zach Tom. And then Morgan fills in and rotates as needed. Do you think Goot is better at identifying talent through the draft or through free agency? Well, first of all, I'll say it's not just Goot, right? This is his entire front office. It's the pro personnel side. It's the scouting staff. They're 2 totally different sides of things. He obviously leans on both of those staffs very heavily. So it's not just Goot. It's the entire front office and the different divisions that they have within that. Obviously, he has final say and will make those final determinations and decisions, but there's a ton that goes into it. I would probably argue that their pro personnel side has been better than their scouting staff. I will also add that what they do from a scouting standpoint helps them when they add these players later, right? Like if you don't think they evaluated and looked back at the scouting notes when they picked up Chris Brooks, for example, or Xavier McKinney or Josh Jacobs, like they're not just looking at their pro stuff. They're going back and looking at their notes from college, all the work that they did interviewing the players and the people around that player, the type of personality and all of those things. So it's not just, one or the other per se, but I do think that there have been very few misses on the pro personnel side. If there have been, it's sometimes been keeping one or two of their guys that maybe they need to go in a different direction on. And they've maybe been a little bit hesitant to kind of move on in some of those situations. But when it's been bringing people in, whether it's been guys from practice squads like Eric Wilson or Rasul Douglas or Bo Melton, like they've done a phenomenal job there. Finding guys like Chris Brooks that was just released from Miami and was available to pick up on a practice squad. I think even picking up guys like Jamin Davis makes a ton of sense this week. And then your big time free agent signings, which you might just think everyone hits on those. It doesn't work that way. Look at like Eric Armstead in Jacksonville so far this year. That has not gone anywhere near according to plan. But for Green Bay, Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney, both playing phenomenal football. So it doesn't seem to matter too much from the pro personnel side of if they're making a trade for a player, if like Malik Willis is another great example of that, or if they are signing a guy off a practice squad, signing a big name free agent, signing a street free agent. Almost no matter what, they've hit on almost every single one of those as of late. So I'll say their pro personnel side has been a little bit better, but obviously their draft side has not been too bad either. Tequin, good to see you. You mentioned the mental communication side of things with Nagler when talking about Quay. Could that also be the issue with Valentine or Stokes, or are the Packers just stubborn? I don't think there's a communication thing there. Like Quay's the green dot guy. He's the one that's calling the plays on defense. So that's not going to be anything with Eric Stokes or Carrington Valentine or anything like that. Jeff Hafley did just say in his press conference that he expects the fans to see a lot more of Carrington Valentine moving forward. I don't know if that's just Jair injury related or if they plan on seeing him more out on the field. I think that's the right move one way or the other. I think he deserves to be out there. And if that is the case, I'm very excited because I think he is worthy of that spot, at least taking any snaps that Eric Stokes is currently getting. Happy Halloween, Andy, or happy Halloween, guys. Andy, you need to plug Carry the G to compete your Aaron Nagler Halloween costume. Laughing out loud, just kidding. Hope all is well, sir. No Aaron Nagler costume per se, but I've told him in the past, he's put the playbook together, right? Like of what he does and what he's done covering the Packers. There's never been a time, and I can say this wholeheartedly, there's never been a time where I've literally sat down and thought, like, what did Aaron do? Or like go and try to make notes of what Aaron's doing and put together a similar playbook or anything like that, right? There's never been a thing like that where I've tried to say like, oh, Cheesehead TV did this, so I should do this. Not once. Everything that I've done and sort of grown the channel has come organically. But I thought you obviously see things just even through osmosis and people that you are naturally a fan of and the work that they do, you sort of try to pick little pieces of things that they do well and see if you can incorporate it in some way. And I think Aaron and what he has done with Cheesehead TV and covering just the team as a whole and how he does it and really to bring people together and just all of it. Like he just does a tremendous job. So are there things that I think I've just kind of followed in his footsteps, even from just working with him and talking to him and just naturally? I think there's probably a piece of that, but definitely, somebody that I lean on if I have questions or need advice on anything. And he's just been awesome to work with from day one. The one thing I will say, there's one thing that I very much try to take from him, and I don't think I do as good of a job on it as I should, is he has been unbelievable for a Packers community in giving a variety of people voices, which I think we've done really, really well on Pack a Day. That part I'm very, very proud of, but also promoting those voices. When I was up and coming and nobody really knew who I was, Aaron Nagler was somebody who consistently brought me up in tweets, gave me opportunities on Cheesehead TV, gave me opportunities to work with him. And he could have, even at some point, right? Or whether it was at the beginning or later, he could have said, oh, this could be somebody that could be competition someday. I would rather squash that out rather than bring that up. And I'm not saying in no way am I saying I'm competition for Aaron. Like that's not what I'm saying, but like the people will look at it that way and say, I don't want any sort of new person in the space. Right. And Aaron was the antithesis of that. He was constantly bringing me up, constantly giving me opportunities, constantly giving me praise. And to the point where I legitimately mean I'm not in this spot right now if it's not for Aaron, like in all sincerity. So I have nothing but respect for him and what he has done in the Packers community, what he has done for me. It's awesome to talk with him every single week, just talk ball. And that's, I think one of the cool things about Aaron and I is, and I've talked about this a little bit in the past, when I have guests on, just as a courtesy, I will usually give them a rundown or some notes, even on the radio show, things that we could talk about. Just like, I don't even necessarily expect them to look at it. I've mostly stopped with Justice and Mike Wall because you could tell they're just like, dude, like just bring up anything and we're going to be good. So I'm like, all right, well, you got this. But for almost always, I will give like a rundown or vice versa. A lot of times when people have me on, they'll give a rundown. Like Aaron and I, there's no rundown, there's no notes, there's no anything. Him and I can just start talking and just go. And that's a really, really fun aspect of it. So yeah, that's again, I think the world of him. I think he's done a unbelievable job cultivating Cheesehead TV and that audience. Obviously him and Corey and Jersey Al as well. And just can't thank of enough for all the opportunities that he's given me throughout the years. So it's been awesome. Hey, Andy. Hey, chat. Finally got to one of these live Q&As. Tulio, thanks so much for coming. Appreciate you being here. And thanks for being a member. In regards to Goot's ability to not always draft the best in the first round, I'm just glad we don't find complete busts like Jeff Okudah or even Evan Neal. Yeah, it always can be worse. It always could be worse. Or, I mean, there's guys, too, that, like, have flamed out of the league. Isaiah Wilson was one, right? Was he the Titans guy? So one, I think it's Isaiah Wilson, right? Yeah, Isaiah Wilson was one that's, like, completely out of the league. Like, you go back to that, even, like, that 2020 draft where, like, everyone, got super mad at the Packers for drafting Jordan Love in that, like, how could you possibly draft Jordan Love? Go back around that. I'm going to bring it up right now. So Green Bay took Love at pick 26, Isaiah Wilson at pick 29 out of the league, Noah Igbinohin out of the league. Jeff Gladney was out of the league. And then of course had the tragic accident that cost him his life. At pick, there's one more too. I thought there was one more that was also out of the league. I guess maybe I'm wrong, but like right around that spot, there's like three guys that were like completely out of the league. Picks 29, 30, and 31. Here's like everyone's upset with Green Bay at pick 26, yet nobody talks anymore about the Titans, Dolphins, or Vikings completely blowing those three picks right after Green Bay selection. Like to the point where like, yeah, I saw people that wanted Isaiah Wilson in Green Bay at pick 26. I saw people that wanted Jeff Gladney. Actually, I wouldn't have hated Jeff Gladney at the time. Honestly, he was awesome in college, but like that wanted Jeff Gladney at pick 26, and Green Bay could have picked those guys and they would have been completely out of the league. And nobody says anything about that, but they took a quarterback. And of course it kind of worked out all right, I would say. So yeah, I think that stuff always gets blown out of proportion. Austin, what's up, Andy? Who do you think will be the player of the game on Sunday? Hopefully a Packer, right? That's a really good question. I think it would have to be somebody on defense. Either that or like just Jordan goes scorched earth, right? But outside of that, I think it's going to have to be somebody on defense that comes up with like a huge turnover, a couple big plays, maybe a couple sacks, or just kind of has a huge day. I think they're going to have somebody step up on defense and be a big time playmaker in this one to really kind of switch maybe some of the momentum in Green Bay's favor if Detroit gets ahead, or just to, again, limit some of that awesome Detroit efficiency that they have on offense. So I don't know who. Your guess is as good as mine. A Rashawn Gary, a Edgerrin Cooper, maybe Carrington Valentine can come up with a pick six or something like that. Xavier McKinney, obviously NFC player of the month, but I think it's going to have to be somebody on defense again, unless Jordan has like a 5 touchdown, no interception game or something like that. If I'm Ben, I'm just staying in Detroit until I get bored. I think at some point you want to be the guy, right? You want to have your staff, your team, and see what you can accomplish as a head coach. And I think he'll get that itch eventually, but I think he's trying to win that Super Bowl in Detroit first and wait till that 1A perfect opportunity comes around. B Brown, what's up, Andy? Great hearing you on the radio here in Milwaukee. 2 things. What's the deal with the gold package games, and who is that cursing somebody out on Sunday versus Jacksonville? I don't know that I know the second part of that question. I don't know that I've seen anything like that, so my apologies there. As far as what's the deal with the gold package games, you might need to be a little bit more specific there. So gold package gets usually 2 games per year. I think it's the second and the 5th game is what they always get. And then this year they get 1 more because there's the extra home game this year. So Milwaukee ticket holders this year get the extra game as well. So they get the 2nd, the 5th, and the 7th games this year, if I remember correctly. Just so happens that those are all the NFC North games this year, Vikings, Bears, and Lions. So all the home games go to the Milwaukee season ticket holders. They got those tickets originally because games used to be played down in County Stadium in Milwaukee. They said, we're not going to do that anymore once they remodeled Lambeau, but they gave Milwaukee those season ticket holders that were going to the games at County Stadium, they gave them now the right to have those tickets at Lambeau Field if they still wanted them, which they have. But yeah, if you're asking the other side of like, why are there so many fans of opposing teams when it's the Milwaukee season ticket holders and things like that? I don't know. I think sometimes if it's a night game, right? If it's like a Sunday night football, Thursday night football, Monday night football, that I can understand a little bit where maybe they don't want to drive back at, because getting back to Milwaukee is not ideal after a game. The traffic is brutal. And so if they're trying to avoid that and they're going to get back at 2 a.m, they have to work the next day or things like that, I can see why maybe they sell more of those tickets, but you would like to see some of those at least noon and 3:30 games be a little bit more populated with Packer fans for sure. How much does a practice squad player get paid per game if they are elevated and if not? All right. So I have this. Give me 1 second here. So a practice squad player in general gets about 200. It's usually 225,000 per year if they stay on the practice squad the entire year. If you're a veteran player, it can go up to as much as I think $383,400 per year. So it depends on how long you've had in the league, but usually between, again, 225K and 383K, right in that range. That's the rates for the entire year on the practice squad. If you get called up from the practice squad, you get the vet minimum rate. And usually what that costs is like an additional 50K more for the team to elevate that player. So every time if they elevate 2 players from the practice squad every week, that's usually about an extra 100K that's going towards the salary cap and that they're paying out in cash money. So there is actually a cost to that every time they do it. It's not just free house money. They can call up anytime they want and there's no repercussions. So the player does get paid more and it does cost against your salary cap as well. What's your take on LVN so far? Why hasn't he shown his potential on the field yet? We've talked about this quite a bit, Tulio, but I love the effort. I love the hustle. His run defense has come along. I think his instincts as a run defender have gotten better and his awareness as a run defender have gotten better. He was a player at a period in time where he would really bite on the eye candy a lot of ends arounds and reverses he would struggle with and not maintain his position and not sort of quote unquote do his job. So I think that's gotten a lot better. From a pass rush standpoint, it's kind of an unmitigated nightmare at this point. He's, again, good effort player, so he can eventually work his way off of blocks. And if a quarterback holds the ball for a while, or if he gets in a chase down opportunity, or if somebody else gets a pressure and he can clean it up, he can very much do so. So like there's good news there. But from a pass rush win rate standpoint, give me 1 second here. I just saw this somewhere. Where did it go? Okay, yeah, he has 5 total pressures on the year per PFF. 1 sack, 1 hit, and 3 hurries. So 5 pressures in 129 pass rush snaps. All right. So 5 in 129 is a 3.87 or 3.88 pass rush win rate. That is awful. I cannot stress to you how awful that is. Basically, getting a pressure, 4 out of 4 out of every 100 times, 2 out of every 50, 1 out of every 25 times, basically. So yeah, 1 out of every 25 times that he rushes the passer, he's getting a pressure. Like that's brutal. And it all comes down to technique. He doesn't have any go-to move, not even like a counter. We're not even talking counter. We're not even talking like one move that he can go to and feels like he can win with regularity. His leverage needs work. His hands need work. Just his footwork needs work, how he gets off the line, how he attacks offensive tackles. There's just no plan of attack. There's no anything there that's going to consistently get him to the quarterback. And the one thing he can do is kind of, he's got a great speed and power. So you'd like to see him convert speed to power, but until he shows he can do anything else, offensive linemen are just sitting on that. And they know he's going to try to do that. So they just anchor and they're good to go. So he's got to develop a better plan and continue to work on his technique. I will get to all of your super chats. It looks like actually there's only one at the moment, I think. So from Izzy, but Izzy, I'll get to you in just a moment. Richard Lee, in honor of Halloween, who is the scariest Packer? Also, any favorite scary movies or candy? I'm not a big scary movie guy. I do really appreciate the original Blair Witch Project. I just thought that was so innovative and creative how they did that. And just, I remember watching it for the first time in a dark basement. And like anytime it got dark, you were just like, oh my God, don't get dark again. So I really like that initially, but I'm not a big scary movie guy. Candy, I'm a big Reese's Fast Break guy. Big Reese's Fast Break guy. That's kind of my go-to at the moment. So that's kind of currently my number one. I love Butterfinger. I love whatchamacallits as well. But Reese's Fast Break, my go-to. Scariest Packer, I don't know. There's probably a lot of them that, you know, like Travis Glover is just a beast. Like that dude is frighteningly tall and physical and athletic. That might be the one where you're just like, you don't want to see that guy in a like an alley, right? Like that, he's just physically imposing. You're like, so that might be my answer on that one. Like Rashawn Gary, like very, you know, he can get the Bane mask going too. Like he's got that going for him, and he's a intimidating dude. So there's definitely multiple on this team, but I'll go with either Bane Gary or Travis Glover. Which rookie in the Goody era do you feel has fully reached their potential at this point? I mean, I don't know that anyone ever like fully reaches their potential, right? But like, who do we want to talk about here? I mean, Jordan in one real way, like, is he reached his full potential yet? No, but like, man, if you take a quarterback there at that point in the first round and you get this out of it, like, that's still a dream scenario. Like that is a pretty damn amazing dream scenario for getting this quarterback at that pick. So that's pretty damn close again, even though I think Jordan still has a ways, like not a ways to go, but he can still get a lot better. So he like hasn't fully reached his potential, but that's one that you're extremely happy about. I think Jair fully reached his potential. And then I think some of the injuries that he had just kind of set him back. I think you could maybe make that argument with Rashawn Gary as well, where we saw a really great Rashawn Gary, and then the ACL happened. He came back from the ACL, looked really good at first, and then for whatever reason over the last year, it just has not looked the same. But I think he had reached kind of that potential at some point, maybe not quite the potential you were hoping for, but like he became a really, really good edge rusher there for a bit. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at that maybe a little bit closer, but I think Jordan is probably the closest one to that answer, especially again, where you got him and all the different avenues and how many quarterbacks have failed. Like, I think getting this quarterback out of that pick is about probably as close as you can get. Jay Western, good to see you. Banged up Aaron Rodgers, you said, laughing out loud. Is that a sign Andy misses 12? Did I say Aaron Rodgers? Wow. I don't know that I've done that in a really long time. My bad. Evening. I told you I was, I guess I don't know. I don't know how that happened. Evening. I guess maybe we're looking forward to the game tonight or something. Evening, Andy in chat. Well, it is for me here in the UK. Just got 9 p.m. here. Izzy, good to see you. We'll get to your super chat in just a moment. Pick any Lions player from any era to add to this Packers team. Who would you pick? Feeling like a prime and Ndamukong Suh would put this defense over the top. Ooh, that is a really fun question. I mean, Barry Sanders is the ultimate, Detroit Lion. I just don't know that it would be just like an embarrassment of riches. And he's not like a receiver out of the backfield. So I probably don't go in that direction. I mean, Kelvin Johnson, you don't really need wide receivers, but adding Kelvin Johnson to this would be, that would be fun. Now I need to look at this. Got to think of this a little bit more. Jason Hansen. How about Jason Hansen? And Ndamukong Suh is a good answer. This might be a crazy answer. This might be a very crazy answer. I think I'm going to go with the Aiden Hutchinson that we saw prior to him getting hurt this year. Like, dude was the defensive player of the year. He was going to be the guy. Like, add that across from Rashawn Gary. I think that's my answer. Like, if anyone wants to say Barry, I understand. If anyone wants to say Kelvin Johnson, I understand. And Ndamukong Suh is a fair choice. I think that version of Aiden Hutchinson is better than anything Ndamukong Suh ever was. So I'm going to go Aiden Hutchinson before he got hurt this year. I think that player is unbelievable, and putting that opposite Rashawn might be the thing that would put this Packers team over the top. So that's where I'm actually going to go. Suh was very much a dirty player, no question. He's one of those guys that if he's on your team, you love him, and if he's on any other team, he's the biggest piece of crap ever, right? It's kind of one of those things. Oh, I never liked him, hated him. In fact, however, he was a problem, very much so. Agree to love you both. Love you slightly more though, so don't tell him. Oh, I will. I won't tell him. Oh, good. Sue makes me mad just thinking of him, F him in his stomps. Fair enough. Tulio, I love you both. Negs is a hell of a guy, and you're similar human beings, so to speak. Good guys, no ball, relatable, humble. That's why, in my opinion, you have great chemistry together. Appreciate that, Tulio. Glad no troublemakers like Henry Ruggs. That's another great thing that they've done. Edgerrin Cooper is the guy that's reached his potential the quickest. I don't know if there's a different conversation we're having here, but not sure on that one, Tulio. Yeah, I'd say if Jordan is healthy and he's the player of the game, we win. Oh, player of the game for Edgerrin Cooper. All right, that makes more sense. I'd say if Jordan is healthy and he's the player of the game, we win on D, Gary, X, or Clark. Like that. Is he, Andy? I know the game is on Fox, but NFL Plus doesn't seem to be covering it. Is it a prime game? That I don't know, because it's a little bit different for you guys overseas, I believe. And for us, the NFL Plus doesn't get you anything for live games. You have to have the YouTube Sunday ticket thing. So I'm not sure. It's not a prime game, at least for us here. For us, it's just a Fox game and nothing else. So I don't know if there's anything different anywhere else. Chad, we will cover this in great detail on our pregame show, and we'll go over it. But I think playing efficient offense, taking care of the football, limiting the amount of big play opportunities and any sort of trick plays for Detroit. I think getting Jared Goff off of his spot is going to be huge. Trying to limit Amon-Ra St. Brown as much as possible, making sure that their running game, it doesn't need to be stopped, but it needs to be contained. You can't let them go, 80-yard gains. You can't let them go for 180 yards in this one. So I think you can allow 120 and still be fine. You just can't let them go crazy, right? So I think just limiting their offense, playing your best brand of football, getting that home crowd involved, being efficient, no turnovers. They just have to play their best football. I will stick by this. I don't care who they're playing. If Green Bay plays their best game of football, not best, but you know what I mean. If they play a really good game of football, they're going to win far, far, far more often than not, regardless of who they're playing against. So they just need to come out, play their game, and they're going to be just fine, and they can easily beat this Lions team. LVN has the body of Hercules and the skill set of Dean Lowry. Maybe, I guess. I think he's better than that. I do think the complete LVN is terrible. I don't agree with that. I have a slight negative grade on him. I know PFF has him a little bit lower. From a pass rush standpoint, it's been brutal. I will give you that. But I do think he's finding ways to impact the game, specifically in the run game. And I don't think it's this atrocious, you shouldn't be playing him or what are we doing here sort of situation. But you're definitely left wanting a whole heck of a lot more. That's for sure. I know this is Packers, but I was curious to your thoughts for Dallas at Atlanta and LA Rams at Seattle. Yeah, I'm taking the home teams in both of those. I just did my confidence picks for this week with the Thursday night game coming up tonight. I don't feel super great about either. I know a lot of people are picking the Rams in that one. I just know Seattle's always a really tough place to play. I think they've had a little bit of a rough spell lately. It looks like they're going to get DK Metcalf back this week, and I think they bounce back. I think Seattle picks up that win. And then I just don't think Dallas is a good football team. I think we're still blinded by the star and the blue and what Dak Prescott should be and CeeDee Lamb. There's no Micah Parsons again in this one. They're completely lacking the playmakers that they need on that team. Where you're not seeing Deron Bland pick off 10 passes this year, things like that. I just don't think they're that good. And I think Atlanta's the better team, and it's in Atlanta. So, based on that, definitely go with Rams and Cowboys. But I actually like Falcons and Seahawks in that game, especially with both those teams being at home. Which player on the team is the most under the radar player so far, aka the Dontavian Wicks player of the year? Give me a second here. I got to think about this. There's a couple that come to mind. All right, I'm gonna go with two. I'm going to say Sean Ryan and Eric Wilson so far. Those would be the two that I think. I would even add to some extent Isaiah McDuffie, who I think is playing better than people are giving him credit for, but I probably wouldn't go quite that far. But I think Eric Wilson and Sean Ryan are both having really nice seasons and maybe not quite getting the recognition that they deserve yet. Sean Ryan's had a couple bad games here and there. I didn't think he was at his best this past game, but I think on the whole, he's been a very positive player for Green Bay on the season so far, which has been a really good step for him. And I'm really excited about his progress. And then on the defensive side, just getting really solid linebacker play and even really good linebacker play. He's PFF's fourth graded linebacker this year, by the way. Their fourth best linebacker is Eric Wilson. And I don't have any major disagreements with that. He's been really good, made some big plays. And for a journeyman special teams guy at age 30 to have this sort of year sort of out of nowhere, I think that's another one as well. So I'll go Sean Ryan on offense and Eric Wilson on defense. I can't do horror genre at all. Sci-fi thriller on occasion, but nope. The only horror thing, and it's not all horror, of course, and this is more sci-fi, big time. I do love the Black Mirror series, and you do get a little bit of horror mixed in there every once in a while. But I love the Black Mirror series. I don't know that I ever really want to watch other than San Junipero, which I think is one of the greatest episodes of anything ever. Just an unbelievable episode. Outside of that one, though, I don't know that I ever really care to go back and watch many of those. Like, once you see the first one, you're like, all right, I don't need to see that again. And there are, like, I think everyone that's seen the series, like, there's one or two episodes that will live rent free in your head forever. The one where, and again, I don't think this is spoiling anything, but like he gets like trapped, or like, I don't even know that I can explain it properly, but basically like his mind gets digitized. And when it's digitized, like they can basically do anything to you forever. And he's basically like tortured, where they can just give him like nothingness for like 1,000,000 years. And for them, it only lasts like 5 minutes. And like, just things like that, like just like live rent free in my mind of like, oh my God, can you even imagine? Like, yeah, like I think if you ever watch that episode, or the series, I should say, I guarantee you there will be 3-4 episodes that will live with you forever. And I think that's the beauty of it. But I'm definitely more sci-fi thriller, not a horror guy at all, but I do love myself some Black Mirror. Fair enough, Izzy. I appreciate it. I can't do candy corn. Black's not sorry about it. I don't mind candy corn at all. I have never, and I'm pretty sure well, maybe that's not true. I think maybe once in my life, I've bought a bag of candy corn just for Halloween, just to like put it out once we got like kids old enough to eat candy, just to kind of have it out on the counter or something. I think one time I did that, but I don't ever feel like I need to go buy candy corn. If there's candy corn out and like I can just grab a few pieces, like I'm like, oh yeah, I like this, but I don't need it more than just like a couple handfuls during Halloween, and I don't need it in my life. But if it's there, I enjoy it. But yeah, that's all I have to say about candy corn. Caleb Jones is no longer on the team, Ben Swanson, so I can't say Caleb Jones anymore. There you go. That's brutally awful. Wow, I didn't think his numbers were that bad. I really think he and the staff should have come with a move or two now, right? Sometimes pros need to work their fundamentals. Yeah, I agree. I don't have anything to disagree with there, Tulio. Yo, Andy and good folks, happy Halloween. Holmes made one. Happy Halloween to you as well. Brian Branch to match with X and Williams. That'd be a fun ad as well, but I'm still going to go Aiden Hutchinson. 3.5 hours to get to Milwaukee after a Sunday night game, leaving 12:65. That was brutal. And it was against Chicago. Yeah. It's not great. I've driven back. I never had to drive back to Milwaukee, but I did have to drive back to Madison after games. And even that, until you get like kind of to like the Oshkosh area, and then you can get off and go towards Rosendale or whatever, then it clears up quite a bit. But even just having to go on 41 back to Madison when I lived in Madison was a nightmare after game. So it's definitely not great. But I think it's worth it because it's the Green Bay freaking Packers. Definitely Aiden. Yep. No, I'll take Jordan Love still. I'm good with that. Andy, you and Mike Wall mentioned D-Bach in Pitch Perfect. Funny enough, seeing him, Clay, TJ, and Josh is mostly why I'm a Packer fan. I was a new football fan in middle school and needed a team. John, that is absolutely awesome. Also, apologies, by the way, for the Mike Wall audio today. We were about 2 minutes in, and I could tell it was, kind of glitching again. He's overseas right now. He's in Germany, and his internet, I don't think his internet connection is great. And we were about 2 minutes in, and I could tell, all right, this is going to be super choppy again. So on StreamYard, which I'm on right now to broadcast this, when you're with somebody, you have the ability to record locally. And what that does is it takes my audio locally, it takes Mike's audio locally, and then at the end of the episode, you can download his audio and it'll merge together. And so rather than having it over the internet, right? It's just your local file, and then it'll combine it together, and you get this really great picture perfect, or I guess not picture perfect, but you get this perfect sound quality. And so we stopped the episode 2 minutes in. I redid the link and made it so that we could do it that way. We got to the end of the show. I went to download his file, and it was corrupted or didn't work or whatever the case would be. So the only thing I had left was the over the internet version, which unfortunately was still very choppy. I made the executive decision. It was probably better than nothing. So did that. And then I also got you the 2 Ross Uglum episodes today as well. One with PFF that's up there, which is awesome. And then of course the other one is Ross dressed as Spider-Man, making his gambling and fantasy football picks of the week, which is always great. So put those up there for everyone, not just members, as a apology to everyone. But yeah, sorry about that. And hopefully we can get that fixed for next week. Your light years better than, I don't know who you're going to say there, Ben. No idea. Hi, Andy. Why do you think the Packers don't draft a lot of Wisconsin players like Leo Chanel or the Watts were there? I don't think it honestly has anything to do with it being from Wisconsin, not one iota. And they've taken Wisconsin players, right? They, in the same year they passed on Watt, they got, I can't think of his name. Oh, that's going to bother me. Vince Beagle. So Vince Beagle, they drafted Jared Abbrederis in the past. So they just brought in Peter Bowden as a undrafted rookie as a potential long snapper option. I don't think it has anything to do with the college whatsoever. I think they evaluate everyone the exact same. And if they fit what they're looking for, they will draft them. Now, I don't know why TJ Watt was not their cup of tea in that draft. He certainly should have been, for whatever reason was not. I think it probably had more to do with them liking a variety of players at that point. And I think just trying to get value and, grabbing extra draft compensation. Well, because I think they probably liked David Njoku. I think they probably liked TJ Watt. I think they probably liked Kevin King. Well, we know they liked Kevin King. I think there was rumors that they liked, was that Delvin Cook too? I think that might've been Delvin Cook's year too. I think there was just probably a variety of players on the board at that time that they liked, and they felt like they could move back 5 spots and they could still get one of them. So they picked up the extra draft capital, got the guy that they really liked still in Kevin King, who fit everything that they usually look for, and picked up an additional 4th round pick, which I think they used on Vince Beagle, if I remember correctly. So that's the decision that they went with. A lot of the times those trades, or some of the times those trades have worked out for them, right? They moved off of Brian Branch, but they got Jaden Reed in the second, and then they got Dontavian Wicks and Carl Brooks with those 2 picks that they picked up by moving down a couple times. So they still got a big time wide receiver and another really good wide receiver and a good rotational defensive lineman by moving down. And it worked out great for them. Sometimes it doesn't work out. And that was certainly the case with the TJ Watt situation. Are you buying what Rebrovich said about the defensive line still adjusting to the new scheme? Seems like pass rushing is more straightforward. Troy, I will give it the benefit of the doubt, but on surface level, I will say absolutely not. The very first thing I read that I'm like, transitioning, like go get after the quarterback. Go get after the quarterback. Yes, there's a transition. Your footwork can be a little bit different. Your alignment can be different. Some of the things they're asking him to do can be a little bit different. There's absolutely pieces of that. At the end of the day, get to the quarterback. Go beat the guy between you and the quarterback. Like that's your job, and go do it. So not entirely no, but I will give it a small modicum of the benefit of the doubt. It's a 3:25 Central Standard Time kickoff. Correct. This week is your official prediction for tonight's game. I'm going Texans. I know it scares the crap out of me though, because I don't know what Vegas is seeing that would give them the ability to put a 2-point favorites on the Jets. Like it's just too fishy. Like I would stay away from it if I were betting on this game just because of that. But I don't understand it. And cover 5 this week, I don't know if anyone plays cover 5, but I'm still taking the Texans to, hopefully put up some points and win easily. I'm scared as hell of that line though. I don't know what that is. I don't know what to do with that, because I feel like the Texans should be favored by like 7 or 6, and it's the Jets favored by 2. And I also don't like road Thursday night teams. Like it usually doesn't work out great. So I definitely always have trepidation there, but there's no question to me the Texans are the better team here. As a Buffalo fan, I'm actually rooting for Houston to lose a few more. I can understand that, Ben. Pass rushing as a unit against mobile quarterbacks and good run teams will be subdued. Much rush and contain. It depends who you are rushing. Yes, but every other team has to go through that as well, so it is what it is. Who else found the other day that Dean ended up on Pittsburgh and has actually been doing decently for them? I actually don't know that I would have known that off the top of my head, Ben. If you would have asked me, I know he had the cup of coffee with Minnesota. I think he had another team in there too that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but I don't know that I would have known that he was on Pittsburgh right now. Dallas is almost as bad as the Jets. I wouldn't go quite that far, but I don't know. Maybe the Jets win tonight and Dallas loses, and maybe we do have that conversation. I just don't trust Seattle. LA Rams starting to get confidence with their receivers back. This isn't the same Seattle, and the only teams Seattle has beaten have been bad. There's definitely a piece of that. I don't disagree with you there. I'm not super confident in it. I still think there's enough there for Seattle. And I think that defense will start to gel a little bit more. They get Metcalf back. Kenneth Walker's healthy. I think they can put up points. I think Seattle wins that one, but it should be close. Which NFC North player on another team would you drop on our team to slightly get us over the hump? Cannot be an injured player. Sorry, Aiden Hutchinson. So you're looking for like a premium player, obviously. I don't think anyone on Chicago really fits that mold. I mean, it's really hard not to say Justin Jefferson, right? Like, it's really hard not to say Justin Jefferson. I don't think, any of Minnesota's, like, I really like a lot of Minnesota's players on defense, but I don't think any of them are like complete game changers for this team. If you could get a great outside corner, like maybe Jalen Johnson would be really nice. But I think I'm just going to go, Justin Jefferson. And I know it's not maybe the biggest position of need, but you add the best receiver in football to the team and you're usually going to be pretty good, right? So I'll go Justin Jefferson for that one. And other than New York Giants and Dallas has a brutal schedule for the rest. Oh, going back to your comment from before, either the edge rushers from Minnesota, maybe you could take Van Ginkel, you could take Grenard. That'd be fine with that. Paranormal is greater than slashers. I would agree with that. Worst candy ever. I like circus peanuts, but everyone hates them. My grandpa, who I love to death, was a big circus peanut guy, and he would give me circus peanuts. So I have a very fond and nostalgic memory of circus peanuts. So not anything, again, that I usually go out of my, every once in a while, like maybe every couple of years, if I see a pack of circus peanuts, I'll grab it just out of nostalgia more than anything. But yeah, that I definitely have a soft spot for those. Worst candy, like to me, worst candy bar none. I do not understand it to this day, is a plain Hershey bar. I cannot in any way, no matter what, fathom why you would look at the entire thing of candy and be like, plain Hershey's. Like, the whole world is at your disposal. You have every option under the sun: nougat, peanut butter, caramel, nuts, no nuts, crisps, everything. It's all right there. And you're just going to be like, nah, just plain milk chocolate. And not even that. If it were, like, I've had some like Cadbury chocolate bars, right? Or like, if you're talking like even like a really great Dove chocolate, something like that. Like, if you're talking about a specialty milk chocolate bar, right? Like, if you're talking about like the creme de la creme of just in like the chocolate itself is so good that you're like, I just want to have that like kind of melt in my mouth and just bask in the glory of this beautiful chocolate. Okay. Not still my first choice. Can understand it. A plain Hershey bar. We're talking about meh chocolate. It's fine. It's nothing special. So that would be the choice. I will never understand it to the end of my days. I could never possibly understand it. Even if I like, unless you're making s'mores, maybe. But again, even then, I think there's better options out there. So can't understand it. Not me. Am I tripping, or is Eric Wilson keeps? Am I tripping, or if Eric Wilson keeps balling out, he's a name to? Here we go. Am I tripping out, or if Eric Wilson keeps balling out, he's a name to compete at for comeback player of the year? I'm probably tripping. You're probably tripping, Tulio, but I don't think you can ever really get in that conversation. I don't think anyone's watching enough Eric Wilson tape, and he'd have to probably start the year and be in like the Pro Bowl conversation, but he's having a hell of a year. So regardless of individual awards, kudos to him for having the year that he's having. There are some of us that can only dream about going to a game at Lambeau, so I get that, Ben. Could have gone to the game at Denver last year, but I was actually out of town in Florida. Bummer. Not ideal. What program are you using to merge audio, Andy? So the StreamYard does it in and of itself, but I also have the Audacity app or program that I use to do all my editing in. And then on video side, I use Camtasia. Yes, Vince Beagle. We got there eventually. Oh yeah, Tausch from Wisconsin as well. I know I'll be ready to enter heaven when I can finally forgive Kevin King. Not today. I've forgiven Brandon Bostic. Fair enough. Over at October, what is one Packer narrative that you wish would go away, Andy? For me, Josh Jacobs not worthy of the money. I think that's starting to go away on its own. I know Justice brought this up, but the Josh Jacobs needs 25 carries or whatever every game is weird to me. Yeah, I don't know that there's actually any like super bizarre ones so far this year. The Jacobs one was weird, but that was one guy yelling from ESPN. Like, I don't think anyone else was really saying that. So yeah, I don't know that there's any like super weird ones floating around this year. I think for the most part, people have had a pretty good pulse on this team, which has been pretty cool. Vegas knows Ada is going to mail it in tonight. But isn't mailing it in like not doing well? Like just kind of like relaxing? So then shouldn't Houston be bigger favorites? I don't know. I'm still weirded out by it. The pass rusher Minnesota got from Houston, Grenard, he's good. I don't think that he's like this complete crazy game changer, but he's a good player. Jalen Johnson in the conversation. Has Meyer proved that he should get an extension, be the long-term center solution? I'm not quite there yet. I'm much more in the camp of I wouldn't hate it / be mad at it if they did it. But I do think they have answers on the roster already. I think if you've got Elton who can play center, Zach Tom who can play center, Sean Ryan, Jacob Monk, I think you have some options there already. And if he's going to get $12 million per year, I think you let him get that contract elsewhere. If Green Bay decides to sign him to a long-term deal, I'll get it. I'll understand it. You can never have enough offensive line depth, and he's playing much better this year than I've ever seen him play. So I'm okay with it, but I would probably go in a different direction if I were Green Bay. Dark chocolate. I like dark chocolate, so I don't have a major issue there either, but a plain milk chocolate Hershey, I just do not get. I got to ride Andy Hershey bar over Reese's for me. Arm wrestle for forgiveness. Nope. There's no forgiveness, Game Boy. You're just wrong on this one. I'm sorry. There's no way to do it. Lint milk chocolate is awesome. I will absolutely, I can accept a lint milk chocolate. No problem there. See, you're condemned, Game Boy. I'm actually just going to block you right now. You're not even allowed to be a member. And I'm just kidding. I can delete the comment though, right? Here we go. Delete. Oh, I can put you in a timeout too. All right. I deleted the comment. I didn't put you in a timeout, but you're on notice, Game Boy. 15 to 20 carries for Jacobs works for me. Here's the thing, right? Like in last game, they needed 25 touches out of Josh Jacobs. Awesome. Do it. There are going to be games where you only need 12, 13 touches out of Josh Jacobs. Awesome. Like play it by ear. Don't just say we've got to go into this game getting Josh Jacobs 25 touches or else let the game come to you. Figure it out. Figure out what works best. And if you need that game, he can give it to you. But I don't think you want to give him 25 a game either. That's going to wear him out by the end of the year. Got offered 2 tickets for Sunday at Face. Couldn't find a game buddy. There's a whole chat full of game buddies here. Just put it in the community chat. Who wants to go to a game with you? Somebody will take it with you. It'll be awesome. I guarantee it. Packer fans are great, especially in this community. For me, it's Jordan's got way too much money to throw a ton of interceptions. I'm cool with that one ending as well. The Malik Willis is a better option than Love is surprisingly loud narrative on Facebook. That's why you never get your Packers takes on Facebook. Why does it seem so difficult for NFL coaches to call plays on short, late down situations? Seems like there have been a lot of failed 3rd and 1s, 4th and 2s this year. Yeah, it's just a really difficult down. I think defensive coordinators prey on offensive, play callers in that situation. So many offensive play callers. Either one of two things. They're either afraid to take that shot downfield on those plays, or people get mad at them when they do take that shot down the field. I always loved when Mike McCarthy took those shots on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. You're taking a calculated gamble. You're going to get the best look that you possibly can all game long to take a deep shot down the field. There's no better look than on like a 4th or 3rd and short to take that shot down the field ever. You're going to get a one-on-one on the outside. You almost are positive you're going to get the one-on-one on the outside, and you can potentially take advantage of it. Greg Jennings scored a big game-winning touchdown against Chicago that way. I think it was a 3rd and 1 right on around midfield, and they took the shot. Jennings got the touchdown. Game over. It was awesome. Didn't always work that way. There was one against Detroit where Matt Flynn was playing, and it was I think a 4th down play. And I still love the decision to this day. People were so upset. It was like a 4th and short, and I think it was Jennings again, maybe, but they get the wide receiver one-on-one up the sideline, and he's open. It's open. It's there. So like McCarthy called a great play. It didn't work, so people hated him for it. But the receiver's wide open in the end. I'm when I say wide open, I don't mean like wide ass open, but like a good step away from the defender, like good separation. We're talking really good separation here. And Flynn's got him, game-winning touchdown right there. And Flynn misses the throw. It happens. He called the perfect play, put his quarterback in position to be successful, put his team in position to be successful, and his team didn't execute it. I don't care if it's a backup quarterback or not. It would be like getting mad at Matt LaFleur for calling a deep shot down the field to Jaden Reed last week because the backup quarterback was in. No, you got him an open look, and the quarterback completed it, and you looked like a genius for it. If Matt Flynn hits that throw and for a game-winning touchdown against Detroit, you would have looked awesome for it. Player didn't execute. It is what it is. He put his player in a position to succeed. I'll never have a problem with that. That too, Jay Western, and it's nothing against Willis. Oh, gotcha. Does Facebook still exist? Cookies and cream Hershey's, awesome, unbelievable. Chef kiss, beautiful, beautiful chocolate bar, one of my favorites. We've got some cookies and cream Hershey's in the house right now, and they're calling my name as we speak. What's your relationship with Peter Bukowski like? I think it's funny how on his podcast he always says, "Thanks for making this your first listen of the day." Well, for me, pack a day comes first. Peter's awesome. He's a good guy. Peter's been on my show multiple times. I've been on his show multiple times. We have a friendly competition. We banter back and forth on Twitter as a like 99% joke, I would say. We both like to, kind of prod each other every once in a while. I think there's a piece of it that's enjoyable, but like 99.9% of it is just good banter and good fun. So no, there's no actual real animosity or bitterness there. And we both continue to wish each other well. And the vast majority of the time, if you go and look on Apple Podcasts for the top 200 sports podcasts on any day, almost every single day, Pack-A-Day and Locked On Packers are in that top 200 of all sports podcasts. We're talking hockey, basketball, all sports podcasts, football, baseball, racing, wrestling, any of it, pro wrestling, all of it, UFC, and then like the big shows like Mina Kimes and Jim Rome and all of these. You're talking about all sports all across the sphere, top 200, and usually both of us are in the top 150, and there are definitely times where both of us are in the top 100. So the fact that you've got two Packers podcasts that are in that space is pretty awesome, and just goes to show you, number one, the great thirst that Packers fans have for content and can't get enough of it, and number two, how if Peter and I could be like, Locked On sucks, don't listen to them, and you could be like, Pack-A-Day sucks, don't listen to them. But we both continue to bring each other up and I think support each other. And we both know that there's oxygen for both of us. And I think that's great. And, I always say too, like Peter is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Aaron Nagler's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And going back to talking about Nagler earlier and some of the things that I, maybe doing that are similar to him, if I try to be Peter, or I try to be Aaron, or I try to be Zach Cruz or Zach Jacobson or anybody other, Matt Schneidman, anyone else covering the Packers, I say this all the time, I'm just going to be a crappier version of them. And I'm never going to be what like I can be, because I will just look like a B- version of somebody that already exists in the space. What good does that do anyone? Right. So I try to bring my own unique flavor and flair to it. And some people will navigate this way. Some people will navigate towards Peter or all the other great content that's out there. But all I can do is be my unapologetically myself and bring you a specific brand of Packers content every day. And so far it's worked out perfect, and I wouldn't wish it any other way, but I love that there's other options out there. And I think the presence of Peter and Aaron and all these other shows, it brings everyone else up, because it challenges everyone to be better every single day. Because if you don't bring your A game, there are other voices out there that people can listen to. And I always view it as a circle, right? And why I do this 365, by the way, if all of a sudden tomorrow didn't have an episode, right? If I took a day off, if I just said, you know what, I've done this. What are we at today? I have done this for 2,289 days straight. On day 2,290, I'm going to take a day off. On that day off, somebody might go listen to Peter Bukowski, or they listen to whomever, right? Whoever else is in the sphere. They might say, oh, wow, this is really good. Or like, maybe I'll go and do this instead. And then all of a sudden they start doing that every day. And then that's like a listener that's gone. Or again, like, so I think the presence of competition keeps everyone better. And I appreciate what Peter brings to the table. I know how hard he works to put in the time, effort, and energy, and have nothing but respect for that. And because he exists, it makes me better. And because I exist, I think hopefully that makes him better as well. All right, got to get through a couple of these. A little bit speed round here. Didn't have Hershey milk chocolate Andy rant on my bingo card. You never know what's going to happen, Richard. That's what makes the Pack-A-Day the best, is you never know what's going to happen. UK Cadbury chocolate is without a doubt better. 1,000,000% agreed. Really good stuff. Can Green Bay just resign Kirk Benkert so Tom Grossi can get over 1,000 yards this season? Also, I did my time in Pack-A-Day prison, Andy. I am a reformed man and already to discard Hershey. Forgive me. See, we're making people better here on the show. We are making better human beings because we are here and correcting the mistakes of those who have sinned against humanity by choosing Hershey bars at the checkout line. I think KC last year loved Dobbs. I don't know that was in regards to, but that was a hell of a play. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes. The third and shorts. Yes. 15 went deep on third and won a lot. I'm assuming you mean Mahomes in that situation. Andy, I meant going in the game with someone I knew. The gold package controversy and selling tickets is a thing. Gotcha. That makes sense. If you got me a ticket, I'll find a way to go from Colorado to Green Bay. See, there you go. Will Wide Ass Open official enter the football terminology like Edge as a position did? I hope so. Careful though, too many cookies and cream can give you a stomach ache. I disagree. There is no such thing as too many cookies and cream. Funniest play this last week was Washington Hail Mary and the idiot chirping on the trick play. Very much so. I talked about that with Carmen today. That's going to be a great episode for tomorrow. I'll see what I can do. That's an expensive trip though from Colorado. Can people give Perry and Maggie more love? Jeez, they're fantastic. I had Perry on the radio show today. She was phenomenal. She's absolutely phenomenal. The trick play was pretty funny though. Who is the Giants? Lost the team who failed so badly for the moment. Like all of you guys, appreciate that, Holmes. Paul Farrington show is pretty good too. For Vikes fans, they do love the pack. Haven't had the opportunity to check that one out. Andy, you are your own man. I know you know, but the Nagler comment was just a Halloween. Oh, no, I totally get it, man. You both are great, and I love your technical analysis, and I love Aaron's community leader feel. No, I totally knew what you meant. You're all good. Took me a moment to figure out they were actually Vikings fans. Then I dropped them like a hot potato. Variety is the spice of life. Aaron Nagler also said Johnny U is the quarterback GOAT, which is my opinion as well. He's very, very much in that conversation. To be fair, they are pretty good for the coverage of the NFC North as a whole. Again, I haven't had the chance to check it out. Perry for Pax, what she said. Yes, correct. Both Perry and Maggie are goated as well. I agree. Andy, do you talk to the guys at Packers Total Access? They are hilarious. I was on their show once or twice. I think that was it. But I was for sure at least on their show once or twice. All right, friends, that's going to do it for me. I got to go pick up the kids from school, so I'm going to go do that right now. I will talk to you all very, very soon. Happy hour is tomorrow. Same time, same place, 4 p.m. right here on the Pack-A-Day YouTube channel. Appreciate you all for all your membership and generosity. For those of you who are trying to get to the game, make sure to get to the game. Go support your Green Bay Packers if you can. But I will see you all very, very soon. Until next time. And as always, go Pack Go.